Hello again, and if you're new here, hi for the very first time. My name is Vanlynn, and we're reading some petty Reddit stories today. And before we start, I'd like to ask, please subscribe. Please subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. I beg of you. This is my sad face. So, I stream. Twitch.tv/Vanlynn. Please watch me. Please follow my Twitch. I don't know how this is gonna go. I looked up some Reddit stories. I kind of quickly read through them, see if they're interesting or not. And looking at the comments, these are pretty crazy. So I'm gonna start with the first one. Had the roommate from hell and couldn't get rid of her, so I made living with me as miserable as possible. Cool. This happened in 2008 through 2009, but I thought this community would appreciate the story. In 2008, I just had left my husband. I caught him cheating multiple times, and I was just over it. A new girl, we'll call her Amy, started at my job, and we made a fast friendship. I was in the middle of packing up and moving out of my house. I needed a roommate for a new apartment I was looking for because my wages weren't going to pay the bills. So we moved in together and lived peacefully together for a while. I was moving on with my life. I'd gotten a better paying job, was spending time with friends, and I felt okay with life at the time. At the time, I was 25, single, and not looking for anything serious. So I had a friends with benefits who would just stop over a few times a week. Amy was not cool with it on the surface. It did not affect her in any way. My friend didn't hang out at her place. He didn't eat at her place. He didn't use our household supplies. My relationship with him affected her exactly 0%. But I guess she was a little green about the fact I was getting some attention and she was not. She would flirt with him, go visit him where he worked, etc. That's just weird. He absolutely was not interested in her. This is where things started to go downhill. For context, she'd been married a few times. She was only 13 years older than me, and the dads had full custody of their respective kids. Sounds like she's a deadbeat mom. She was dating someone, but he was already in a relationship, so he wasn't about to commit to He wasn't about to commit to anything besides stopping by for 30 minutes after he worked the night shift every day. I tried to point out all the red flags, but she was convinced it was love. This dude used to hit on me constantly in front of her. He was very open about being in a committed relationship with his girlfriend, so I had no idea why Amy thought this was going anywhere. After a few months, I met someone I wanted to be serious with, so we started dating. We'll call the guy Tom. Tom and I got pretty serious pretty fast. He was living in a horrible situation, so he moved in with Amy and I pretty quickly. I think it was about a month after dating. So we have a room and she has her room. The bills went from 50-50 to 33-34 to make things even. We had just shared a kitchen, living room, and bathroom. After Tom moved in, she started openly hitting on him in front of me. Every guy I had at my house, even just friends, she had to hit on. None of them ever took her up on it. Every single one turned her down, and I think this added greatly to her oncoming behavior. Over the next couple of weeks, Amy did a complete 180. She stopped paying rent, refused to buy any food, would just eat whatever Tom and I bought. I would not wash her dishes. We had 2 cats, one of hers and one of mine, and she would never clean the litter in her room, so her cat would use our hallway floor as a bathroom every single day. Every day when I got home from work, there was a big steaming pile of cat shit right in front of my door, sitting in the middle of a giant puddle of urine. My cat was locked in my room at night with her own supplies, so there was 0 chance it was her. It was the same thing every morning by the front door. It was the same thing every morning by my door. Whenever she was done eating the food she stole from me, she would set her plate with the leftovers on the kitchen floor for her cat to pick at it. She would leave the plate there for days, to the point that if I didn't pick them up, there would be multiple plates on the floor with food in various stages of decay. Gross. All of my dishes started going missing, except for the cat's plates, of course. And what dishes were left, she refused to wash ever. She used my toilet paper, my laundry, my soap, even my tampons. This went on for about 2 months, and it kept getting progressively worse. She would use panty liners every day and would change them multiple times a day and stuff them in the garbage can in the bathroom. She would leave it there completely overflowing and spilling onto the floor for days until I caved, put gloves, and threw them out. Gross! Disgusting! I'd throw her out. I've been throwing her out a long time ago. This can would be full in about a week, so this happened a few times. That's not the worst of it. My expensive DSLR went missing. I was a photography hobbyist at the time, but it was my dream to be a professional photographer and own my own photography business. I would shoot stuff for friends and family as practice, and one day I grabbed my camera bag from the shared living room space, and as I picked it up, my heart sank into my stomach. You know, that instant dread that grips you the second you realize something truly gut-wrenching has happened? I opened the bag, and of course the camera is gone. This was an expensive camera for that time of my life, and it was a gift from my parents, so I was truly devastated. I couldn't prove a thing, and I wasn't even sure how long it had been missing. It could have been her boyfriend that took it, but either way, it was gone. So now this is it. This is the last straw. I needed this bitch out. I went from nice girl to fucking psycho in about 30 seconds. I'm not the violent type, and I hate confrontation. I'm not waiting for a fucking eviction to go through, and I really didn't have the money for that anyways. So here's where I start my petty revenge. Amy wants to live here with me rent-free, stealing my shit, hitting on my boyfriend, and neglecting her cat. So be it. But it's going to be on my fucking turn. One vital piece of information: in my divorce, the dickhead moved back in with mommy, and I took everything from the house to my new apartment, so I owned everything and the lease was in my name. I started by changing the Wi-Fi password, the computer password, and the following week I had my cable company come and remove the cable lines in her room. I bought a small fridge for my room and a cabinet, put all my food and personal supplies in my bedroom, put a secure lock on my door. I hid my pots and pans. I locked up the soap and toilet paper. The cabinets were empty. I paid for it all, and I would be the only one using it. When her cat shit on the floor, I would pick it up and smear it on her bedroom doorknob. Oh, overflowing bathroom trash cans filled to the brim with her panty liners were dumped on her bed. I removed the knobs to the washer and dryer. You're insane. I love it. That's crazy. I did everything possible to make her life uncomfortable. I did other small stuff, anything that came to mind. A few months prior, Amy and I had been working at the same store, and she borrowed another coworker's laptop. She ended up getting fired, but she never gave the laptop back, and the coworker was really trying to get it back from her. Amy ghosted her, of course. So while she was out one day, I went in, took the laptop, and gave it back to its rightful owner. Amy called the cops on me, said I stole her computer, but I explained what happened. She admitted to the cops that the computer wasn't hers, and the cops said it wasn't their problem anymore. Duh. That one really made her hate me. She wasn't working at the time, so it's not like she had money to do anything or buy anything. She was literally just existing in a room in my apartment. She would disappear during the day, but I had no idea where she was going. She moved out after about 6 weeks. When she moved out of my apartment, I didn't even know she had left. I just noticed she wasn't coming or going for about a week. So Tom and I cleaned out her room. She left clothes, broken furniture, cardboard dresser, and 5 39-gallon garbage bags of trash we collected from the massive piles of panty liners, rotting food, and ordinary trash we found in the room. That's disgusting. It's a miracle we didn't have roaches. I found all my missing dishes, silverware, cups, all covered in food and grossness. I just threw it all away. I wish I still had the photos though. Oddly enough, about 6 months later, I opened my back door to take out the trash, and my camera was in a bag hanging from my doorknob. I know Amy definitely didn't return it. For about 2 years after, every time I would find out Amy was living with someone new, I would message them and send the photos of her room, papers in the trash that had her name on them, and I would tell them the whole story. One time it caused the people she was living with to throw her shit out on the porch. She just moved in and they had small kids and they didn't want to risk it with her. I stopped after that. She knew it was me telling them too, so I figured I had sufficiently made my point. Edit, she took the cat with her, but not before she threw my cat outside. My cat was missing for 10 days. Oh my God, what kind of horrible person? A comment said, perhaps your camera was returned the same way you returned the purloined laptop. Honestly, that's crazy, but I'm not sure if I would be the type of person that would break like that and do all those things, but I know damn well that I would have took action to remove her from my apartment a lot sooner than that. I feel like she let her roommate step all over her for too long, and that lady was just used to getting away with it. All right, story number 2. My ex cheated on me with a friend of mine I introduced him to. Disgusting. The petty revenge of the story was against said friend. When I found out about it, I had already broken up with my ex over other affairs he had. I Male 26 when this happened. Met this friend, male 28, at a university. Let's call him Mario. Okay, so Mario is his friend. Mario told me how his family situation was bad. His father was super homophobic. He had no friends and felt really depressed. Since he lived in a city close to my ex's city, I introduced him to my ex's group of friends living around there. Sometimes when I was studying for exam sessions, I couldn't join them, but I was okay and trusted them both that they could spend time together. Anyways, long story short, 1 year later after this situation started, I broke up with my ex because I found out he cheated on me with other guys. 8 months later after the breakup, my sister told me that actually when I was still with my ex, Mario had a situation with him. Basically, he was so proud of it that he shared the story with people at the university. One of them happened to be very close to the girl that was my sister's best friend, so the info arrived to me. However, they asked me not to tell anything before Mario's birthday party in order to not ruin the party for the other friend that he shared the party with. I kept the promise. I went to the party. It was a little bit awkward, but my group of friends made the party easier to go through. When we had to leave, I didn't say goodbye to him. I deleted him off of every social network we shared. And from that moment, since he had been fully telling the story to lots of people at the university, I helped him in the process. I told him to everyone that I knew and that knew him, including the professor he was writing the graduation thesis with. I told his best friends that confronted him and felt betrayed by his behavior. His best friend told me she was so mad, not just for what he did, but what he did to me. And they have always been kind, helpful, and welcoming with everyone, including him. He just lost every single friend he had at the time. After 3 to 4 months, he sent me a DM where he told me that he found out I knew about him and my ex and that he was sorry, really sorry, because he felt like he wronged me twice. First, for doing it, and second, for not telling me. He wanted to speak with me, told me he felt sorry and that I had a right to insult him and even hit him if I felt I needed to. I never replied. After 1.5 years, he wrote me again saying that he started therapy and a therapist suggested him to find closure with all the bad situations he found himself, that he needed my forgiveness because he wanted to change. Again, I didn't reply. The forgiveness was more to make himself feel better than to make me feel better. Honestly, I had no reason to reply at that point. I had a new boyfriend, still my partner now after 8 years, met new friends, left my university life behind, but kept in touch with some friends from there. Didn't need him again as a friend. I felt emotionally not involved anymore with that situation. He had chosen to wrong me, and it's okay, but I'm not going to end up with that shit, honestly. I don't know what happened to him later. I just know he didn't graduate and moved to another city. Oopsie. Wittily, let him deal with his own choices. Somebody said, you hit the nail on the head. He's seeking closure for himself, not to truly apologize to you for his wrongdoing, but it's to make himself feel good. Another comment, a good therapist should not tell him that he needs other people's forgiveness to move on. No one is obligated to forgive you, and you have to be able to live with that. He should be focusing on coming to terms with his past behavior, regardless if other people are willing to forgive him. If he's seeing a therapist, he either misinterpreted what they told him or they gave shit advice. Good on you for not replying. You owe him nothing, especially not forgiveness. I feel like that therapist part was just made up because I feel like no actual therapist would tell somebody, hey, you need to seek forgiveness and closure from other people. Therapist would be like, it is what it is, but it is what it is, bud. You can't expect people to forgive you for your past behavior. Story number 3. My tale of petty revenge that's still going strong 30 years on. At that point, that's not petty revenge. That's like hardcore revenge, bro. Recently, this petty revenge came up in conversation and I can't stop laughing, so I just have to share. Hopefully, it'll give you a belly laugh. Strap in, everyone, as this is a long one, but trust me, it's worth it. This happened about 30 years ago, so I'll start with some context. I had finished agricultural college and luckily got my dream job working for a very well-known horse yard. I knew that if I could work there for a few years, I could walk into any job I fancied. The yard is owned by a very wealthy international businessman. We'll call him Philip. At the yard, there was a single-story house for all the grooms to live in, so full of hope. I stuffed my car full of bits and bobs and drove across the country to start my new job. On my first night, I was warned to keep my bedroom door locked. Odd, I thought, but I locked it up and went to sleep. I was woken a couple hours later by someone trying to open my door. I pretended to be asleep, and whoever it was moved to another door. The next day after we had finished our morning duties, I decided to have a shower. I hadn't noticed before, but the window in the shower room wasn't opaque, and the curtains, when fully closed, left a 10 centimeter gap right in the middle. Very strange indeed. Well, I mean, it's just shower curtains. Very strange indeed, especially as if it was a single-story house, being always prepared for everything. I went back to my room, got a couple of safety pins, and pinned the curtains closed and had my shower. In our living room, there was a large bird cage in which lived a beautiful parrot we'll all call Sharon. She was sent to live with us from Philip's home because she could talk and would talk all night. Take note for later. I settled into a daily routine and became friends with my fellow grooms. I was slightly surprised by the high turnover of staff, but I was young, locking my bedroom door at night and pinning the shower room curtains when needed. I was warned that the person trying to get into our bedrooms at night was Philip. If he got into the bedroom, he would force himself onto that girl. Yuck. Okay, so this is a woman. Disgusting. He would also look through the shower room window. Well, that explains the glass and curtains. Double yuck. The girls warned me that he would select one of us to move the muck trailer and help him unload it on the main muck heap. While there, he would try it on, so just to let him feel your boobs, and that will keep him happy. Absolutely not. What? Roll on a few days, and Philip asked if I can help him with something. Can I help him unload the muck trailer? So I told him I'd been driving tractors and trailers since I was a kid, and I would take one of the girls with me so he could go and get on with his very important business stuff. To say he was not happy about this was an understatement. I decided that I didn't care about the job or potential doors it could open in the future if I was putting up with this sort of behavior. But before I left, I had a little petty revenge to sort out. Remember Sharon? Well, this is where she comes into her starring role. That talented, beautiful parrot learned a brand new, shiny phrase. Philip is a pervert. She picked it up really quickly, too. I felt like a proud parent. I loaded up my car and drove off into the wide blue yonder without a backwards glance. Fast forward 30 years to a couple of weeks ago, I was catching up with an old friend from the horsey world. Amongst other things, she brought up that she had been working with Philip and he had been to the yard. I told her that I worked there when I first left college, and I started laughing as I told her about teaching Sharon a new phrase. She nearly spat her coffee out laughing. She told me that Sharon is legendary and everybody knows that she calls Philip a pervert. So that's my tale of very long-lasting petty revenge. I'm very proud of my 21-year-old self for standing my ground, knowing my self-worth, and coming up with such a good petty revenge. The biggest thank you will always be to Sharon for being a fast learner. That's so funny. Comment, I love your petty revenge. I hope someone reported him to the police, though. Grape and unwelcomed groping are a serious matter. By the sounds of it, Philip deserves to be locked up. Yeah. OP said, I don't know if anyone ever reported him to the police. I did try to get another girl to join forces to report him, but she was too scared and traumatized to do it. Poor girl. Sadly, 30 years ago, things were very different. In the world of a 21-year-old against a much older, successful, multi-millionaire businessman, nobody would have taken me seriously. Plus, he never actually did anything to me apart from rattle my door handle and make lewd comments. Still gross. I can't talk today. I had a lot of trouble just reading and stumbling over my words. So a lot of it is going to be edited out. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for being here. I just got a whole bunch of more games, and I have so many more Reddit stories bookmarked and ready to read off. I got a lot of things happening. Got a lot of things going on. A lot of stuff planned out. So be ready for that. And thank you for being here. I'll see y'all later. Bye.